There is no edit button on this train, buddy. That's what today we were talking. I said something about having Tim, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I want to come check it out. Man, everything is fucking up." Okay, hey. And I was like, "Yeah, man, you're more than welcome to come. I just, I don't know if you'll say anything. I'm worried sometimes about people that, dude, I'm gonna change this fucking. You can move it a little bit, yeah."
But not but not too much.
Can you hear me? I just feel like it's like there's a frequency problem. Anyway, and I was just worried that he would say something,
right?
Or anybody would,
right.
You know what I mean? Like professional people type situation.
This is the deal. I mean, we're all being recorded all the time. Anyway. You just have to assume that there's a mic on you, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I wanted to give credit where credit was due. The whole AI discussion that we had. The demon idea, obviously, it came from Elon Musk.
Okay, did it? Okay.
So that's where that originated. I didn't want people to think that,
Oh, yeah, no.
I was in here like trying to manifest some brand new idea. No. This is something that's carry over. What I was just trying to communicate was that, I believe that the demon has always existed in society as far as, the development of language.
Oh, that's my phone.
Uh-oh. From the development of language, all the way up to the point that we're at right now. And it's just as technology becomes more and more sophisticated, it's manifesting in different ways. And it's always manipulated us in one way or another.
Sure. Yeah. And I thought, because you said you've been reading a lot, I was even going to ask you, I wanted to ask you, like, was that something that you got like out of, that you were following an author or somebody? I didn't honestly know. And it wasn't necessarily the demon part. The AI is a demon that caught me. It was just the second thing you said about it kind of manifesting itself.
Right.
And how that certain things over time and over history have manifested themselves. But just for some reason, just that kind of thinking, how it's emerging and we can't stop it. It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah. And I got like obsessed with it for a couple of days. I just started thinking about, me and Ben kind of covered some of this too, but I just started writing about it. I started thinking about living out your life inside of a computer program and how that would be almost like hell, depending on a few things, because you don't have any body anymore, but you have consciousness. If you can be inside of a computer program and have consciousness, and then this is all stuff we covered a little bit, but I want your take on it too.
Infinite copies of yourself.
Infinite copies of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, is this in itself one of those copies? Like, are we experiencing that right now?
Right now, yeah.
Another thing too is, the dream state. So what is the dream state, right? So you go to sleep at night and then you wake up the next day. But are you waking up on the same plane of existence as the plane that you went to sleep in?
Man, me and Ben literally said almost the same thing. Right. He was we talked about particle physics and like multiple realities, and he said maybe dreaming is you kind of shift, you go into another reality or something just because there's infinite amounts of them. And
sure.
Anyway, but I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, he kind of said the same thing. And man, I wish he was here too, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. I thought we'd have some similar ideas about it and maybe,
sure.
Branch off a little bit on it. But
so what have you been writing about?
So I started thinking about I called it, I don't know, and I Googled some of this stuff, not necessarily this particular term. I called it captured AI or captured artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So turns out a lot of the ideas that I kind of had about AI when I Googled them or read about them, it's all kind of the Matrix in a way, the movie, but there's just so many variations of it and more even like scary parts. So one of the things I thought about is there was this big, like in the 90s, late 90s, people started talking about AI. I can kind of remember, and people could say, one day you'll be able to download your consciousness into a computer program or a machine, and you can theoretically live forever. And I thought, like, would you really want to do that? What are the circumstances of your consciousness downloaded into a machine? What would that? Are you in a void and a blackness? What is, you would remember, me and Ben went into this, I know, but you would remember certain things about your life, happiness, joy, regret, sorrow, how it tastes to eat a hamburger, but you wouldn't be able to experience those things inside this machine. So how would that fuck with you? And then is time the same while you're inside the computer program or in the machine? Is an hour to us a million years inside the machine? And if you come out, somebody just literally transferring you from a USB drive over to a hard drive and then putting you into a machine, you may think that was eons, and you've lived in solitary for eons in this void with just your consciousness, like you're in a float tank with no for eons. Who knows? I don't know. It just seemed, it was a weird concept to me. And who would the first person? So I thought if they could put your consciousness into a computer or a program, then they could write codes of program to interfere with your consciousness and then hijack your consciousness and use your consciousness as a foundation for some program and then force you for eons or eternity to process data. You know, like, why am I doing calculations in my head? You know what I mean? And I'm in the void and I'm calculating. I can't make myself stop calculating. I don't know. So I just went on a tangent. I started typing on my phone when I was taking shits and when I had a few free moments or whatever.
Sure.
And I just all of a sudden wrote, just those types of things.
So what are your thoughts on death? Because nothing gives me more anxiety than thinking about the finite nature of our reality, and this at some point in time, and we never know when, but at some point in time, this comes to an end. So when you reach that end, are you okay with it?
I think I am. I think I'm not.
Do you believe that there's something that you traverse into once this particular stage of your existence ends, as far as we know it?
Yeah. Dude, man, I don't really know, honestly. It's very, I think that we probably do. I don't know. It's such a, I've gone a million ways on both sides about it.
Sure.
I think that it's beautiful. Think that we could, move to a higher plane and a better understanding of the meaning of life and kind of move through existences. I think that it's beautiful if there is a creator that has a plan for everybody, but I've also been unconscious and and under anesthesia, and it's like nothing.
There's nothing.
So I don't know. I just don't know.
Have you had any near-death experiences?
I've never been. I don't. Well, I just bad bike wreck when I was a kid. I was unconscious for like a few hours or whatever, and I don't remember anything. No pain, anything. Just woke up with some road rash.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. How about you? You near death?
I've had some. Yeah, I've had some experiences. When I was 22 years old, had this horrible electrical storm. I was living in Baton Rouge at the time.
Okay.
Lights went out. I was home alone, and I lived in a 2-story condo. Started lighting some candles around the house, and lightning storm was just horrible, just really, really bad. I walked out the back door, and I kind of took a step outside, and I looked around, and it was dark outside. It was in the middle of the day, but the lightning was almost like a strobe light outside. It was so frequent.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, I should probably get my ass in the house. So I walked back in the house, and I decided I was going to go upstairs. So I went upstairs, and I brought a candle with me. And I don't know why I did this, but I had a balcony to the master bedroom.
Okay.
And when I opened up the
That's pretty
door,
pimp, by the way.
Well,
Sounds pimp.
Not so pimp. But
I don't know, the way I see it in my head, it's like your bed and it opens up and it's like you're standing out there, like I don't know,
got my fucking fur on.
Yeah, like looking down at your car in the driveway. I don't know, that's how I'm seeing it.
My leopard slippers.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, anyway, go ahead.
So I opened the door, and when I opened the door, I just saw this flash of light, okay, and then I had this feeling, like the hand of God had reached inside of me and was trying to yank my soul out of my body.
So were you hit by lightning?
I was hit by a side spark of lightning, which
Holy shit!
So
dude,
I've
never met anybody ever that's been. I don't think. I mean, I've never had this conversation.
I've been hit twice.
What?
I've been hit twice.
What?
Yes. Okay. So the second experience was not quite as profound as the first one.
Sit over here.
Just get away from me when the lightning begins.
Yeah. Well, man, shit. It's Louisiana. You never know.
Right.
Go ahead.
It was one of those experiences. At the time, I was studying biological sciences, environmental sciences at LSU, and I was going through a phase where I was not really engaging myself in religious thought too much. I was very scientifically minded.
Yes.
And so,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't think those two things don't
diverge.
I don't think they have to.
I think they converge in a lot of ways.
I think that they do. I think that if you, I've heard a lot of very, very intelligent people say that once they get into like nuclear physics and science and biology, that they start even believing more that there's a design.
Sure.
I don't know. So, but go ahead. Yeah. So,
and some people go the exact opposite direction.
True. They think it's just random and this is what we have all, or whatever. I don't know.
Especially physicians,
Physicians, really?
I think that a lot of times you go to med school and you're working on cadavers.
Yeah.
And then you do your residency. Maybe you're working in an ER somewhere, and you just see people coming in just completely in the worst heinous conditions.
Yeah.
Dying. At your hand, you're trying to save them. They're just dying in front of you. And over time, I mean, you must become callous to that to a certain extent, to where it just seems like your perceptions of death would change dramatically if you were. I know that mine are, because I work in a nursing home, they're different. My first experience with death, my mom was a nursing home administrator, and I used to work and volunteer at the nursing home that she worked at. This was in Las Vegas, Nevada.
How old were you?
I was 11 years old.
You lived in Vegas?
11 or 12 at the time.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. So I was working there. It was summertime, and I was hanging privacy curtains. I don't know if you've ever been in a nursing home. But typically, if you have a semi-private room, you have two people in a room. You have a privacy curtain that separates the two beds, so that if they're having to do something with the resident, they can pull the curtain and
right. Yeah, a little privacy. Yeah,
their alleged privacy.
Yeah,
so,
right. Just a curtain.
Hey, the regulation states that it has to be visual, but not necessarily auditory privacy.
Okay, gotcha.
So moving on.
Wow, there's an actual regulation on that?
It's a regulation.
Oh my God, dude. Is there anything there isn't fucking regulation on? Like anything. No, go ahead.
So I'm hanging this privacy curtain for this lady, and she's talking to me, and I'm talking back with her, and she's a very sweet little old lady. I don't remember her name. I don't even remember what she looks like, but I was on a ladder. I was hanging the curtain, and I was telling her, I'm just going to be hanging this curtain here, and I'll be done shortly. And she's like, okay, honey. So I'm hanging the curtain, and I look over, and this is a few minutes later. I'm almost done hanging this curtain, and I look at her, and she just got this very blank look on her face. And so I walk over to her, and I look at her for another moment. And immediately I thought to myself, okay, I need to go get the doctor.
Yeah.
The doctor that was a medical director of the facility was actually a friend of mine's father. Okay, Dr. Hartlieb. I remember his name.
Okay.
And Dr. Hartlieb comes into the room, and he says, do you want to watch me pronounce her dead? And he pronounced her dead right there in front of me. So this lady died while I was in the room with her.
You were the last person she talked to?
I was the last person she talked to.
Wow. And she was sweet to you right up to the end?
Yeah, very sweet.
Just, okay, babe, do your thing.
Very nice lady. So, I mean, that's
a weird, that's a crazy story, man.
And life is just like that. It's here, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And you're gone. And you see someone that's gone, that they're dead, like, it's very clear to you that that body was simply a vessel for whatever energy was operating it up until the point in time that it no longer exists.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a meme one time. It was a brain and a spinal cord with the nerves and stuff coming off, and it said one day we'll all realize this is basically all we are, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so died right in front of you, 11 years old, first time.
So let me go back to the story about the lightning. Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wanted to go back to that, man.
So when it hit me, I felt like the hand of God was reaching inside of my chest and was trying to pull my soul out of my body. And it's crazy, man. Like, my vocal cords, I could never duplicate the sound that it was making. I think the electrical current was activating some portion of my vocal cords that I'm not in control of, and that I'm not capable of actually.
Yeah, like,
it was something that was.
It was just shaking them in a way that you can't even do it.
That I can't do it.
You can't even do it. Yeah.
And I was making just this god awful sound, and I hit the ground. I don't know how long I was down, and when I finally came to, I didn't have the ability to connect my mind to my body. I couldn't get up. I couldn't figure out how to get up. It took me a little while to finally realize I can move my hand now. I can move my arm now. I can get up now. I probably spent about 20 minutes just reorganizing.
Do you really think it was 20 minutes, or do you think it was just like
if I had to guess?
Yeah, okay.
20 minutes.
Okay.
And I was finally able to pick up a phone, and I called my girlfriend at the time. She was visiting family in Lafayette, and when I called her, I couldn't talk. All I could do is be like, just that noise right there.
Yeah,
basically, I could not communicate. And then as I was on the phone, I finally was able to say just the minimal amount of words. And, immediately she called my mom. My mom came, got me, brought me to the ER. I got checked out. I was fine.
How long did it take you to get to where you could like control your, start talking again?
I mean, I think that by the time we were, my mom got there, brought me to the ER. I was
feeling better.
I was better. But the strange part is the lightning went like in and out of my arm, and I had these entrance and exit wounds.
Yeah.
That were on my arm, and within a day or two, they were gone.
They were gone. Really?
They were gone.
A day or two.
Yeah, it was gone.
Damn. What's that about?
I have no fucking idea.
Do you have scar?
No, I don't have any scars.
That's so
I have no scars. I know. It was definitely a time in my life where I felt like that was a near-death experience.
Well, shit, yeah, it was a near-death. I mean, do you remember anything other than just the physical sensation of regaining yourself, trying to connect your mind to your body again, getting your hands talking? Or do you remember any, like, for lack of better words, any beings or anything like that?
No beings, but when it was happening, I felt like there was something much bigger than me reaching inside of me, something way more powerful than me.
Fucking lightning,
out
for
there,
sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so. I mean, I don't want to confuse that with God.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. Yeah,
but I think that idea of death and a million ways you can die.
Yeah,
then none of them are good.
So you got struck twice, though. What's the second?
The second time, I had two dogs, and when I was younger, I used to be OCD.
Yeah,
bad.
Okay,
I let the dogs out to take a piss and whatnot. Letting the dogs back in, I would wipe their feet because I didn't want to get mud in my house.
Okay.
It was nasty weather outside.
Yeah, I got you. Keep your shit clean. I get it.
So I was wiping their feet, and I was standing in the doorway doing wiping their feet, and the lightning came down. It didn't hit me, but it was so close to us that it knocked me back in the doorway. I think it may have hit my dog, and every time after that, when there would be a lightning storm, it was a Doberman. That Doberman would get underneath the coffee table and would not fucking come out.
Before that, did it care? It didn't really care too much?
Before that, it really didn't care.
It just scared the shit out of it, or it hit it, like you said.
Right.
Maybe. Did you fall over or something? Or
I got knocked back. So I fell back. And
hit that close.
And he ran. He just jolted into the house and went underneath the coffee table. And then every time after that, when it would rain, he was underneath that coffee table.
Dude, there's a video just the other day. I saw it. I don't, Facebook or whatever, something. It was, there's some people, kind of looks like they're maybe eating outside at a restaurant that's got some outside seating, but covered or something. And there's a lodge or something off in the distance. It looks like they're in the woods a little bit, but there's some, a lodge and some, maybe it's a campground or something. I don't know. But it starts raining and the guy puts his phone out. It happens not long after he puts his phone out because he's moving it around and setting it up. And he gets it set up on the table and it's facing a tree above the lodge. A huge pine tree or something. And all of a sudden, 30 seconds into the video, you see, and it just comes down and just the tree just explodes and pieces of it fall. And finally a big chunk of it falls and hits the lodge and knocks it over. And it's really first of all, damn, he literally just pulled his phone out it's raining. Let me put the phone up.
I think I've seen that.
You seen that one?
Yeah.
And then just how powerful it was.
And there have been other times too. I think the very first experience I had with lightning, I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I was at my dad's house on the second story. I had a bedroom there and playing Nintendo or something.
Yeah.
And there was a lightning storm, and lightning came down and hit a tree right outside my window. And it was it was very, very loud, very bright, very just explosive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've always, anytime there's been a lightning storm, I feel like a conductor for it.
Really?
So I definitely belong indoors.
Do you get do your hair start standing? I mean, how do you? Physically, is it something in your brain?
I think that there have definitely been times when the lightning has come down so close to me, the field of it, it has like raised the hair on my arms, in the back of my neck.
My mom loves lightning storms, and we had a pretty big yard when I was a kid, like when I was young. In the backyard, big pine trees and stuff. And some of my earliest memories are, just from that house, because I was when I was, 3, 4, 5 at that house. I remember a lot of these little flashes of memories, and I can remember my mom, lightning would start and rain, and she would sit out, just one of those Louisiana summer storms that just comes up out of nowhere and, just rains like 15 inches in a couple of hours and it's over with, or it rains 10 inches in 45 minutes and it's gone. And that's probably all exaggeration, but I can remember those big, gigantic pine cones on the ground, and the lightning was striking so close that they were shaking. You know what I mean? Like it was, you could see it hitting so close that it was almost shaking the house and shaking those little pine. My mom collected these big, huge pine cones and made wreaths out of them and stuff, so they were all over the yard. And I can remember, I don't know if I just imagined that. I mean, I was probably 4 or 3 sitting on my mom's lap watching that. And I don't know if I imagined that or what. A lot of weird shit happened at that house, actually. Do you? What about ghosts? How you feel about ghosts? That's what I think I know what you're going to say, but I want to see what you're going to say.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've had some experiences before.
I have too.
I've had some experiences before. Some rather profound. That for me, they've just, it's locked in the idea that there is something else going on. There is definitely.
See, that's surprising to me, because I thought you were going to say that you didn't. I really did. I thought, because you have a science brain, but you also have you have this other side, the spiritual side too, and that's interesting, because I was curious what side of your brain was going to take over. And since you've had an experience, he's kind of like you don't even get the choice, Okay, but yeah, I'm curious about it. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of my first experience. My cousin is probably going to kill me for this. So my mom, her brother, who's actually my godfather, and in South Louisiana, when you're Catholic, your godfather is called your parent.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you know that, right?
Of course, yeah.
So my parent had 5 kids, all my cousins, 4 boys and 1 girl, and he was a state trooper. And when he retired, he actually died when I was probably, I don't know, maybe 18 or 19 years old. I was young.
Okay.
All his children became law enforcement officers, so they were all cops down in South Louisiana. Shout out to my cousins.
Shout out to South Louisiana.
Anyway, so my cousin and I were on a lawnmower. Now, they lived in a house that was on top of a hill. And at this time, now
fucking Indian burial ground.
It's out there in St. Martinville. Okay. At the time, they were the only 2 houses on the hill, and on the other side of the hill, there was absolutely no houses. Okay. And the hill the street comes up over the hill. The 2 houses are kind of on the top of the hill. And then the street continues to go all the way back to the other side, down the hill. And there's a cul-de-sac. And it's a dirt road. And then there's nothing but cornfields.
Yeah. Okay. It's kind of the middle of nowhere.
Cane fields. I think cane fields. Okay. So my cousin and I were on. It's Easter. Okay. So we're having a crawfish ball. Down in South Louisiana, boy. Know how they do. And so my cousin and I,
the way they talk, I love it.
I love it, dude. I love South Louisiana.
Yeah.
The people down there are the best people on this planet. Okay. Anyway, so we're on this lawnmower, and we're down here, you know, at the end of the road in the cul-de-sac in the little turnaround, and it had rained. It was very, very muddy out there. Okay. So imagine you're standing in the middle of a cul-de-sac, and it's all, you know, there's all these ruts, you know, mud, just water everywhere, cane fields, and there's a girl standing out there in all white in the middle of this mud pile.
Yeah.
Okay. And my cousin and I see her, and then we look at each other and we leave. Okay. Now there's no houses. This is like a little white girl. Okay. Probably 9 or 10 years old in a white dress in the middle of all this. Now we haul ass back to the house.
Is this nighttime? Daytime?
No, this is daytime.
Okay.
Middle of the day. And, you know, they're all sitting down, like, you know, eating crawfish.
There's no houses around.
There's no houses around.
So it's not just like the neighbors grow. Because you're talking about back in that time, I mean, a kid could wander a ways, you know, 30 years ago or whatever, in backcountry Louisiana or South. You could wander and wander and wander.
You could.
But go ahead.
So we went back and, you know, we told my mom, and we told my partner, and we were like, you know, we just saw this girl down at the end of the cul-de-sac with wearing all white, standing in the middle of a mud pile, and they just start laughing their asses off at us. I mean, this is a completely isolated area.
Yeah.
This girl, I don't think, wandered over there.
Yeah.
And they were like, y'all are crazy. And they just laughed it off, and they thought we were crazy. And I don't know that they didn't believe us, but you know, it's funny because my cousin and I, like, when we hang out, and I don't get to see him very much, you know, unfortunately we've grown apart, and, you know, he lives down there. We have our separate lives. But
that's what happens, man.
But
you
know, but even if I saw him today, you know, I'd be like,
remember that little white girl we saw?
I'd be Petey, man. Remember that little girl we saw out there? Like, okay, because you know, because we both saw her.
Yeah.
We both saw her.
You know, when you talk to him,
right?
I'm not. You were there.
You were
me.
there.
I'm not lying.
It's
not bullshit.
Exactly.
Look, man, I at that same house I was telling you, we used to sit and watch the storms. We had this couple. My grandparents lived to the left of us. If you're looking out the back door, they owned like an L-shaped piece of land that was woods. They owned the property that our house was on too. It was actually the original house, and then my grandfather built the bigger house next door. And then there was a church right to the right. This is just right over here. There was a church right to the right. And there's a big field, and at the very back end of the field, off to the left-hand side, was a cemetery. And I mean, there's graves in there from the 1800s, you know, like late 1800s, 1875, 1883, stuff like that.
Sure.
And I was 3, 4, 5 years old, and I used to tell Mom, I remember this. I can remember seeing this guy, the back of our property, back up to the woods, and then the woods turned, and along at the very back of the woods, where the woods kind of ended, that's where the graveyard was. And we'd play in it, around it all the time and everything. Playing in the backyard one day, and I just doing my shit, and I look up, and I mean, I'm like maybe 4, so it's blurry, but I told my mom about it. I remember it. Off in the distance, just 10 or so feet back in the woods, is this guy standing there with a fucking like late 1800s tuxedo on. I don't know what a late 1800s tuxedo looks like when I'm 4 or 5 years old, but I can remember it clear enough, and now I know, okay, it was a particular cut. He even had a hat on. I remember I'd go in and tell my mom, this guy in the back of the yard, in the woods, watching me, dressed really nice. And she was like, what? There's somebody watching you. You know, she'd run out there, and there's nobody out there. And I would just see him randomly. I remember one time I got really close. I was maybe 15 feet away, walking along the back edge of the property.
How many times did you actually see him?
Probably like 4, or 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I walked by. He never came to the edge of the woods. He'd always stand 4 or 5 feet or so back in the woods. And I got real close, and I remember I was never scared of him. I walked by him real close one time. You know, he was 4 or 5 feet back in the woods, and I walked by 10 or 12 feet from the edge of the woods, and I just kind of looked at him and just, okay, I'm playing in the yard. You know what I mean? I had like a little bow and arrow, my BB gun or something. I'm just playing. Okay. And now I can look back, and I remember that he, you know, had like a crushed, velvety looking kind of lapels on his suit, and very 1800-y looking, like they dressed this guy up nice to bury him or something. That's how it. I mean, why else would he be there? I mean, the certain pants, just that look. When you see people, 1880 pictures, and when people dressed up and stood real still, that's what he looked like. And
have you ever listened to any lectures that Rupert Sheldrake has given?
I don't think so. Maybe
he has a TED Talk, and he talks about how like everything has. I'm gonna get this so wrong.
That's okay.
Everything has this resonance.
Yeah, like resident energy,
right.
resonant,
like memory.
Yeah, okay.
like the sun. He talks about the sun and
Yeah.
how the sun has a memory. And he believes that there's consciousness exists. It's prevalent at every level throughout the universe.
Okay.
When you're talking about microparticles, quarks, electrons, protons, neutrons, all the way up to macromolecular structures like the Earth, the sun, the solar system.
There's just like a resident energy that remembers.
There's just like a consciousness that exists throughout all forms of matter in the universe.
Okay.
And so I think, kind of drawing back to what you were saying, there may be this veil that exists from our conscious state, and at times that veil is lifted, and we're able to see memories.
What lifts that veil? What do you think? If it exists, do you think it's something chemical, like I've never done it, but like a DMT experience or something?
It could be something like a shift in the electromagnetic field of the Earth. There could be some type of anomalous shift in the energy field that opens it up. I don't know, dude. This is obviously highly speculative.
100% speculative. We have no idea.
Right.
It can be no more speculative than making shit up. Totally.
Right.
But the weird thing about this guy, it's like our eyes met. He wasn't a memory. Does that make sense? He was like he was there.
Like he was
visiting me.
He was veering at you.
He would come and watch me play.
But you think that he was looking at you from his dimension, or do you think he actually entered your dimension momentarily?
But here we go. Speculate again.
Like manifesting actually within the realm of reality. I think that definitely there are certain things that you can do to elicit like with psychedelic drugs, a response from your consciousness that will allow you to experience things that you will not experience when you are in a normal functioning state. Like when you're in a sober state. I think that there's definitely something there. When it comes to psychedelics and really any type of chemical that can alter the neuronal activations going on within you, and the different neurotransmitters that are being released,
getting in the way, causing more of one than the other,
shifting,
blocking certain things, shifting. And it does it. Is it making our brain like it's shifting things around, like it's picking a lock sort of and letting us see something else, or you're making our brain a key to another dimension?
Maybe it'd be like kind of like a kaleidoscope, like you just it's like twisting, and you just you're seeing these different angles and these different perceptions and colors coming through.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to put it. It's almost like it's we're kind of here, and then it's shifting off, and there's refractions
and I think also when it comes to psychedelics, I think one thing that happens is you become attuned to things that you typically are able to just tune out, and you just cancel them out. With normal consciousness, let's say you're driving down the street. You drive down the street every single day. There's a tree over here in your neighbor's yard. There's a stop sign coming up, but is your mind truly processing like it's a new data, like it's new bit information. No, like it's already there, it's already composed, so you're not processing it per se, you know.
Yeah,
but in this, but when you take psychedelics, it's like everything is new again, and so all of this information, all these bits of information that you're normally you're normally not necessarily paying attention to.
It's almost like
background noise.
Yeah,
all of a sudden becomes like the primary concern.
Yeah,
you know. And it's competing with all these other things too, you know, and that's where I think the conflicts in reality and the shifts in consciousness really occur.
Yeah. Well, so you're saying, see, I don't know. I've wondered that. I mean, so what you're saying is almost like the everyday stuff that you just get used to. Psychedelics make you think, okay, all this shit's brand new again, even though you know that it isn't. So there's like this conflict between the knowing that it isn't, but also seeing it in a different way. So do you think that that's just chemical? Do you think it's opening up another? Is you're phasing in and out of another dimension?
I think the change in the chemical in the actual like construct, like the actual like neurons firing, the depolarizations occurring, the neurotransmitters being released at different concentrations across, you know, synapses. I think all of that, it is in itself playing into the changes in perception. So yeah, I think it can also be induced, you know, in a manner where you don't have to use you know, psychedelics. You know,
yeah, sure.
You know, you can go to a really tough yoga class and walk out of that place and be like, wow, life is exciting. The sky is so blue.
Well, yeah. Well, and I feel the same way. Like every time I've ever left a float tank, when you walk out, you're just like, man, everything is so pretty, you know, and it's, you just feel, I always do. I mean, the whole idea of relaxing for a while, not moving and all that. But
yeah, let's talk about float tanks.
Float tanks are awesome, man.
Okay, so
I fucking love float tanks.
So my experience with the float tank, but in the last experience that I had was probably the best one I've had thus far.
How many times have you done it?
I've probably done it half a dozen times.
Okay.
Not many times.
I mean, I've done it like 7 or 8. Yeah. So almost the same amount. Yeah.
It just seems like it takes a long time to wind down. Those first
after? Oh, you mean when you first get get in?
The first, like, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes. I'm just like, get me out of here.
Yeah. Well, there's a I mean, you get a little bit better at it as you do it too.
Sure.
Like you realize the things like dry your face, but nothing really else.
Now I know we've talked about this, but you know, I've done 2 hours every time I've gone.
Yeah, that's a while. That's.
Well, but I feel like you have to have at least an hour under your belt.
I do 90 minutes usually.
Before you get into a deep enough state. I get highly creative. And I actually start talking to myself inside of the pod.
Yeah.
And I really wish I had recording equipment. Really, seriously, that I could record what I'm thinking, or at least what I'm saying, so that I could go back and remember what I was thinking later.
Yeah.
You know,
you could, double side your iPhone up to the top of the little thing or whatever. Double side sticky tape your phone, turn on your recorder.
But it's so salty in there.
Yeah,
your phone.
If your phone falls, it'd fuck it all up.
It would, like,
or maybe just get a little cheap, like an Amazon $5 one, like stick it up on something and talk in there while you're in there. You know,
the last time I went, I had my phone just in the room with me. And it was just so salty. That like there was like salt underneath my case that I have over the phone. Right. I have to like pull it off and clean it off. And
well, that's why you have to do it totally nude too, because it would just get all over your bathing suit and everything.
Oh, I do it nude.
Oh, you have to.
You have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I've talked to myself a lot in there. You know what though? Even though I love the whole experience of like. Getting in there and turning the lights off and just kind of getting in your own brain and all that. And like you say, it takes a little bit. You have to steady the water and all that. I honestly would love to have one of those in my house. So one thing that I could do with it besides that part is also like fucking double-side sticky tape an iPad up in there and watch Family Guy too. You know what I mean? Just float and just zone out. But because it's good, I think it's good for your body. I mean, the magnesium from the salt and all that,
absolutely.
It's supposed to be really good for you.
Absolutely.
And then just basically no gravity on your body. You're just floating there, so it's I feel like everything kind of decompresses a little bit. And maybe that's why. Maybe your body is, whenever I leave, it's like your body's been flooded with all these like thank you chemicals. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Your body's like, thank you. You gave us all a rest for an hour and a half.
Well, I think you allow yourself to turn off all of your sensory, everything that's going on around you, all of these different physical things that you have on your body that allow you to sense things.
Yeah.
Like the air, the sounds, the colors. When you shut everything off, it's like it's almost kind of beyond sleep. But I don't sleep, and what's funny,
I'm falling asleep.
Do you?
I phased in and out. I've literally like kind of. Wait, was I asleep? Like I wasn't quite sure because you get so still.
Right.
In your eyes, I've literally been to the point where I didn't know if my eyes were open. I actually had to blink. I was like, okay, they're open or they're closed. Like I wasn't sure. So relaxed and it's so dark. I was just like, I don't know if I'm. Okay, they're closed. Okay, I literally had to blink. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, Tammy sleeps.
Yeah.
When we go, like,
I did it with my daughter. She was like, I just fell asleep.
Yeah. Tammy just goes to sleep. I'm like, you went to sleep? I'm in there talking to myself.
Yeah, I know. I really was, man.
Like pontificating on like the essence of life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just talking just very randomly, but I feel like it's all composed together very well. And I really wish I had a recorder right now. You know, I mean, those are the thoughts that I have in there.
Do you remember Joey from Jackson Street Jiu-Jitsu? Did you ever meet Joey?
Joey,
electrician?
Yeah. He went to train at Global.
Yeah.
I
like the day before I went to like maybe the second or third time I had done a float tank. I think it was just a day or two before I rolled with him. I was still a white belt, like a couple stripe or two or whatever. And when I was in the float tank, right after that or the next day or whatever, I remember I started remembering the roll that I had with him, and all of a sudden I slammed into the side of the thing because I think I had fallen asleep, but I was thinking about the roll and I fell asleep, I guess, or drifted off a little bit. And I started like, I guess I was just laying in the thing kind of shaking, like going through the roll in my head, dreaming about it. And I slammed into the side a little bit, and I woke up and thought, was I asleep? I guess I was asleep. I don't remember. I love when I go to sleep at night when I fall asleep laying in bed or whatever, and you don't really remember. Like, okay, I put something on my phone. I was gonna watch something on my phone, and then now I'm awake. I don't remember. You know what I mean? I don't remember what was on that I had the TV on. You wake up, and I love that because that's when I sleep really good, when I don't really remember when I fell asleep. So it's super restful. I could see how somebody would. Like Tammy just falls asleep, or like my daughter, I was like, what'd you think about it? Did you think of anything crazy? She's like, I fell asleep like 2 minutes into it, slept the whole time. I was like, man, that's it. You wasted it.
Teenagers, man. My daughter would probably do the same. Actually, my daughter would probably not even be open-minded enough to go
to get in there.
Yeah, she'd be like, whatever, Dad, I'm not doing that.
I had somebody tell me one time, I was like, would you do that? And she was like, no, fuck no. And I said, why not? She said, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I was like, man.
But dude, there's a lot of people out there that are not comfortable in themselves. About? They're not thinking. They're operating on a level where they're really not they're not processing their own feelings on things. I think they're just kind of going through the motions.
Going through the motion. Yeah, going through the motion. It's all about appearances. They're not really getting anything deep.
They're not reflecting on.
Oh man, self-reflecting is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge deficiency in American or modern society by a lot of people.
Doing this, sitting down and talking with you, doing this podcast, I get the same feeling, and I think I've told you this already, but I get the same feeling from doing this than I did when I first started doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. Like there's just like something just opened up in my mind.
Yeah. It's because this is such a different thing, especially in modern times.
Sure.
I mean, 100 years ago, people would just, or 10,000 years ago, you sit on the porch for 2 or 3 hours and just, 100 years ago, you sit on the front porch and just talk.
Right.
Have some tea, just look at each other, watch.
And we're missing that.
Watch the wind blow through the trees, and even when we were kids. I mean,
right.
Me and my brother would go out in the woods for hours and hours and hours and just stare at just stare off into the distance and think. and then just kind of trusting each other and all that. And if we talked, it was just me and him, you know, just conversation. It's just, that's what I love about it. I love, and it kind of forces you to, you just open up. It's a lost skill too. You know, you have to really, you know, let each other talk and really think about what, you know, we get a text nowadays. It's like, I'll text him. Oh shit. You know, I'll text him later or whatever. You know, we kind of communicate on our own individual time.
We're in a distracted time. You know, like we're in a position where, you know, we have our phones, we have the TV, we have so many different things that we can distract ourselves with. We don't take time to step back and observe the trees blowing in the wind. We don't think to ourselves objectively, how was I behaving in this particular situation? What could I do to be a better person?
Be a better person.
You know, what I really like is there are all kinds of different ways you can do that. You could get in a float tank. You could go for a run. You could go for a hike.
Yeah, physical activity is huge. But
But like if you ever go hiking, you know, you might be talking to the person that you're hiking with for like the first, you know, hour. But after a while, you get in yourself.
You're just soaking it in
because you're having to walk, and especially if you've got a pack on, and it's, you know, it's if you ever gone like, you know, backcountry hiking.
I mean, I've gone with it, not too far. I would love to, but I've gone, you know, I've gone miles and through the woods and stuff.
Yeah. Even if you do like, you know, 6 miles, you know, you do 6 miles in the woods,
stuff like that.
I mean, you know, there's going to come a point in time where, you know, like, okay, like I'm having to walk. I'm walking, and like, so you're gonna start, you know, on a tangent in your mind about all these different things, and it allows you that alone time to process.
When you're rolling, what do you think? Are you you don't? Man, your face is hilarious sometimes when you roll. I swear to God, you like everybody. When you're so like serious, man. I have a couple of things you on video, and you're just like, you don't really look, and you even occasionally like you're one of the kind of guys too that. I believe you say you don't, because we're rolling or whatever, and I'll just say like, nah, bitch, you're not putting that in there, and you don't really respond. But as soon as the roll is over with, then you're just like, man, that was fucking awesome, you know. But during the roll, you're thinking, you're like literally like not making. I don't know. It just, the personalities of everybody is different.
You know what's so funny is that one time Matt told me, he said, look, you're giving away everything with your eyes. You're looking at exactly where you're attacking.
Where you're going to attack. And
ever since then, I've made it a point to fucking not look where I'm going to attack. You know,
I've done the same thing, man. I was rolling with Casey or something a while back when we were kind of starting, and I realized he was watching my eyes, and I would like look at his collar, and he was kind of up on his knees, and I was on my butt, and I reached out, and I was looking, and I realized he was watching my eyes, so I started watching other stuff. He laughed, we caught on to it, you know, but he was like, I'm watching you. I was like, I know you're watching me.
I'm trying to get better at that, and not projecting what I'm trying to do. You know? So that's what that's about.
So I was just curious, because when I roll, I mean, there's these little funny things that happen, like we're getting a weird position or you know, or something. But for the most part, I kind of just zone out, sort of.
Sure.
You know, especially depending on what position I'm in. Like if somebody's on top of me and they're really pressuring me hard, it's kind of turned.
Sometimes I'll think like, oh, I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. Yeah. Like, what the fuck am I doing? How did I?
Because sometimes you'll just kind of let things happen. Like I'll do that where like, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm not going to fight so much. I'm just going to kind of let things happen and maybe try to get out of this, you know, trying to explore your escapes.
That's the excuse I use when I wind up in a really bad position.
Now, there are certain people like Big Justin. If I'm on bottom,
you really fucked up.
I fucked up. Yeah, I fucked up a long time ago.
Your plan from the beginning is like, okay, whatever happens, I'm gonna be on top. Oh shit,
I'm on the bottom.
Yeah, I know. I've actually pulled him on top of me a couple of times.
I did that once.
Yeah, it's bad.
Never again.
It's bad. But then there's lots of times when I'm like, I'll make it on top, and then I don't wind up on top. Just shit happens, you know.
It does.
But it is an accomplishment. Like if you can sweep him at some point during a roll, like that's all. I mean, I'm like, holy shit, I swept Justin. I'm good for a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I did that shit. I know how to do jiu-jitsu. I swept Justin.
Right.
But that doesn't happen much anymore. Used to. Now it's far and few between. So you got to get on top of him. So I was just curious if you like thought, or if you had any kind of like, do when you go to roll, do you ever like, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to posture, or I'm going to break posture? Or
I think I told you in the first podcast that I don't think recorded. I told you how I get anxiety.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yes,
Go ahead. Yeah.
So before jiu-jitsu,
and this is you still get anxiety.
Yeah, to this day, like I'll be like, I don't really want to go, and then I'll get there, and then I'll look around, and I'll be like, oh God, man, you know, Barrett's here, Tim's here, Toast is here, Ben's here, you know, Ricardo's here, Mike is here.
Oh, Ricardo kicks my ass.
Oh man, it's like, you know, like do I really want to have to roll with these guys? You know, but then we slap hands, we bump fists, and we're at it, and I love it.
Yeah,
you know. But it's funny because it's like this little thing inside of me that's like trying to get me, like, oh, you know, all these excuses, like, well, you could just stay home tonight, you know.
But what are you worried? What do you where does that stem from? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. It's like a nervous excitement.
And I get that too.
You know,
I get a little bit of like when it's like, all right, get some water, and you're like, okay, all right, who am I gonna roll? You know, you get everybody kind of like eyeballs each other, like who's killing me tonight? Who am I killing tonight? So I get, but it's like 5 seconds of that. You know, I don't really like sitting at home or anything. I don't worry about it.
Once I'm on the mat,
you're okay.
It's gone.
Okay.
But like when I'm like packing my backpack, getting ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you know,
do I really want to go?
Do I really want to go? Actually, if I get really bad anxiety about jiu-jitsu, I don't go, because I'm like, is something telling me something? You know, I just don't go. Because I had really bad anxiety one time, about just out of nowhere, like 2 or 3 stripe blue, had real bad anxiety. All day long, I was working. I was remodeling a rent house. I was working all day long, and just I had butterflies, anxiety, and I never get like that. And I went, and I wind up like hurt my finger kind of bad. So I just was like, you know what, fuck it. If I get like that again, I'm just not gonna go. Maybe it's just the universe telling me something. I don't know, tuning into something weird. And
it's funny. I've thought that before too.
Yeah.
And because I get that apprehension before I go pretty much every time.
Every time.
And I just go. And
is it pretty
happens,
bad?
happens.
Is it?
Oh no, I mean
it's not like
I say that, but I'm, you know, I mean, have you ever seen me like really like been out of shape or upset?
No, never.
Yeah. I mean, like it takes probably the thing that gets me the most upset is my kids. Like when they do something that
pisses you off.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You know, like I'm just like, have you read 12 Rules for Life?
No,
with Jordan Peterson. He has a chapter in there about don't let your kids do anything that makes you not like despise them, but like if they're exhibiting a behavior that you don't approve of,
yeah,
you know, not that you hate, but like that like you're like I wouldn't want them to go out in public and act that way. I wouldn't want someone else to see them
do that.
Yeah. Let's correct this behavior.
Sure. Okay.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
That pisses you off when you have to go through that motion with them.
When it's a repetitive behavior.
Oh God, repetitive behavior. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, and you're trying to target that behavior.
It pisses me off when adults do that. You know,
right.
Pisses me off when I do that.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh yeah, definitely when I do that, I definitely get within myself, and I'm probably my worst critic.
I think that's great, man. I think that's a huge chunk that we're missing. It's just like you said a few minutes ago, just self-reflection. I'm not a great person, but I'm going to sit here and talk to you, and I'm talking to, you know, I don't care who hears. I'm trying to be a better person.
I'm trying to be a better person,
you know,
too.
And I think that's, fuck, what else can you do, man?
It's funny because I wrote down some things that I wanted to achieve after we had the first podcast, and one of the things was I'm not going to cuss as much. I'm not going to drop as many F-bombs, and I've already failed.
Well, I mean, but I'm not dropping. Count may be lower,
but I'm not dropping quite as many. So I think it is. It's a journey towards improvement that we all have to undertake that. And if we're not willing to look at ourselves and become better people, then we can't expect our children to behave in a better manner when we try to correct them, because they're observing you.
They're observing you. They're seeing, they pick up on everything.
They pick up on everything, dude. And things that you would never imagine a child is picking up on, dude. They're picking up on it, So I think it's important. You have to be a better person for, if you have kids, like there is no exception. You have to be a better person for your kids.
Yeah.
There's no one else out there that I'm really necessarily trying to impress upon, or try to be a better person for, outside of my family, Tammy, my kids, my parents. I want them to see me becoming a better person, because they've invested their entire lives into me.
Yeah.
And their expectation for me, maybe at times in my life, I know I didn't meet those expectations.
Oh yeah, there's definitely. I mean,
I definitely want them to look at me and say, hey, ups and down, peaks and valleys, but this kid is coming around to become a someone I can be proud of.
Yeah, and I think if you just decide to be better, this is one thing that I have learned relatively. And maybe I always kind of knew it, but jiu-jitsu has really pushed it into the rest of my life. All you really have to do is be better than yourself.
Sure.
And if you can just do that,
right,
then you're just start climbing. That's it. That's all you have to do is just be better than you were, or your version of better.
You don't want to compare yourself to someone else.
Yeah.
That's only going to lead you, because there's always going to be someone that's better than you.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody that's better at jiu-jitsu, somebody that's better at
more money, looks better,
more money, good looking,
whatever.
I mean, but if you can wake up and be better than you were yesterday, I completely and totally agree with you. You are on the path.
And it's just tiny. It doesn't have to be anything major.
No.
It doesn't have anything to
absolutely
be anything
not
major at all. Just little tiny achievements. That's it. And like we're talking a little while ago about how society with electronics and our connection and social media, we didn't really get detailed with it, but I think you were referring to like social media and stuff a little while ago. And we're doing this kind of for that, but honestly, doing this is just therapeutic to me, and that's the driving force behind it. The fact that other people can see it, I would love if anything. We were talking about earlier, we're conversating where we're not always just on our phones or something. I think that's kind of where we were going with it. And I know you got to kind of sit your phone to watch this, or watch it on a computer, but don't watch it. Just fucking go do your own. You know what I mean? Just set the stuff up and force yourself to talk.
Right.
Just force yourself to talk with a good friend or a close, a relative or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't set anything up. Just talk.
Just talk.
Just talk and that makes you better. And then the person will see that he's a better person than he was yesterday. And then you see that person is, you're sitting there together, you're talking, and then, hey, well, you know what? Let's do this again soon. Let's do it tomorrow or next week. Let's talk a little bit. Let's have some friends over. Let's talk. Let's all shut our fucking phones off and talk for a little while.
Yeah.
How about that? And then it radiates out, I think, a little bit, and that's, jiu-jitsu. I'm trying to be better at jiu-jitsu so that if you get attacked in the street, fuck, I know what it feels like. I've held Barrett down with my knee on belly 16 times a week. So I can hold this dude down. I got this shit. You know what I mean? Like you're confident, or you have the ability. So I'm trying to be a better person for if just me trying to be a better person, I hope kind of radiates out. We're all talking now, the physical confrontation that, you've kicked shit at me a few times. So, if you're physically able to protect yourself better, that's better for you, better for Tammy, better for your kids.
Right. Right.
I don't know. That's what I like about it. The same thing for me. I know how to get Phillip off of me with his knee on his belly. So I'm a stronger, better person physically, have more confidence in certain situations. That's better for me, better for, the people in my inner circle. You know,
as a father
it just radiates
with children, with daughters in particular, you have a duty to learn some type of martial art.
I try to get her to do it. Man.
Something, yeah. Well, I tried to get mine to do it.
She
too.
did it for a little while.
She
right?
did.
Yeah.
She did it. She did it enough to where she can put the 5-year-old in a triangle and and terrorize her.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like she took it for probably a year and a half, and she has enough skills. You know, because she took karate too, so the karate and the jiu-jitsu, like if somebody puts their hands on her,
at least
she can
something.
She can get their hands off of her.
Yeah,
you know, in a you know, in an aggressive enough manner to where that person can be like, oh, this is not an easy target.
Yeah,
you know.
Me and Ben touched on the difference between jiu-jitsu for men and women the other day, and I had this weird little thought about it. For like, if me and you didn't know each other and we got into some kind of confrontation, physical confrontation, especially if we had never done jiu-jitsu, we'd probably just wind up punching each other, because I want to try to, like, I'd size you up and be like, I don't want this fucking dude to knock me out in front of all these people, so I'm just going to go crazy, try to knock him out. But because, you know, that's just the way we'd probably attack each other. But if a man wanted to, you know, hold down a woman or something, it's probably going to be more grappling, because he would probably think, I can hold this girl down, and I don't have to punch her till she's not breathing anymore. I can just put my hand around her throat or grab both her hand and pin her. So it's going to probably, because especially if it's some kind of sexual assault,
right,
it's going to be more of a grappling situation for a female. And if a female has been held down by, you know, 215, 20, all of us, you know what I mean? She can kind of, oh, no. Oh, snap, you know, yeah, armbar somebody into oblivion. You know?
For sure,
you
man.
Know?
For sure.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, no, please don't choke my throat. Oh, please don't choke my throat. Yeah.
Just invite him into your guard, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. So I like that there's girls that come and do it, because, and you know, it's a weird balance how to figure out how to roll with them, but you figure it's not that hard. And I feel like if I go easy, not that I try to smash anybody into oblivion, but it's the same thing. Like, you know how to get me off of you, and I want somebody else to, if they're attacked, to be able to. I know what it feels like. Barrett, I've had Barrett's sweaty ass holding me down for the last 8 months. I can get this dude off of me,
right?
You know.
I think also, and we may have touched on this before, but I think a lot of people have a very inflated sense of what they're capable of, and that's what keeps them or prohibits them in their own minds from exploring a martial art like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
They think, well, I have a concealed carry. I'll be able to, you know, to protect myself. But in close quarters, you know, how quick are you on the draw?
Yeah.
Like, can you really pull that gun out in enough time before I'm on top of you?
Right.
You know,
and they've done studies where they show where they in a certain amount of feet, it's hard.
A blade is much more effective in close quarters.
Oh, dude, if somebody came at me with a gun or a knife, I almost think I would rather them come at me in close quarters with a gun.
With a gun,
because I could at least just keep the dangerous part. Hopefully, if they're having to
draw, if they're having to draw,
if
they're having to draw, I would rather them having, you know, because I think a lot of people probably think that they can draw, unless they're highly trained and
that's all they
highly
do.
Practiced.
Yeah.
And kudos to those people.
Yeah, sure.
But I still think that you need to complement, you know, your firearms training with you know, some type of self-defense regimen, whether it's, you know, what is it, Krav Maga, or, you know, and I don't know how effective. I don't know anything about that. Okay, all I know is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And you know, I know how to throw strikes, you know, on a very elementary scale. But if you ever get into a physical confrontation with me, my primary objective is going to be to put your ass on the ground.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless there's a, you know, this is the age-old argument about, well, do you want to be doing jiu-jitsu in the street? And I mean, if I have to, yeah. I mean, I don't want to be on the ground, but if I have to.
If 3 people are jumping me, I'm going to break the fuck out of somebody's knee or
just
elbow.
Snap something really quick. If you can, I mean,
and if they're kicking me while I'm doing it, well then, you know, one of them is going down.
Yeah.
One of them is going to the hospital.
Just choose one.
You know, one of you guys are going to the hospital, and I might be going there with you. But
yeah, we might be laying in the same room, but
it
gonna get one of y'all.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get one of y'all, and you know, if I didn't know this, then it would just be me on the ground, and you know, you guys would be getting away scot free,
right?
You know,
well, and I view it like I wouldn't really want to, but I also know that jiu-jitsu teaches you concepts that you don't just learn on the can't just use on the ground. I mean, grip fighting, breaking somebody's grip, you can do that standing up. You can rear naked choke somebody standing up too, and then we do some stand up too. But you know, just levers, framing. You can frame while you're on your feet. You know, you can do a wrist lock or Kimura grip while you're standing up.
Standing guillotine.
Standing guillotine. You can use a lot of the things you do on the ground.
Sure.
We just do it on the ground because, you know, that's where you take away the leverage from somebody's legs. At least that's the idea for a large part of it. But man, you can wrist lock somebody, guillotine somebody, standing up, you know. And it I think that just the sparring is the best part about it. The fact that we just spar. We learn a game that's kind of works for our body. We get the cardio and the grappling muscle and all that, and the muscle memory.
Yeah.
And it's pressure tested. If you were a kickboxer and you just did like a kickboxing exercise class, you're not going to be, for a year, you're not going to be nearly as dangerous as somebody who goes to a kickboxing class for a year and spars 3 times a week.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
Absolutely.
That's the difference.
Because you're getting that timing down.
The timing, the distance, the pressure. You know what it feels like to be punched, or you know what it feels like to be knocked down, or
Correct.
you know what I mean? You learn how fast you are, what you're good at. I got a good uppercut, I got to get this. I like to cut these angles. You just get all that.
You can go to the gym. You can lift a lot of weights. You can get on a track and you can run miles at a time. But nothing is like getting on the ground with somebody.
Yeah.
And going 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 8 minutes.
Or whatever. Roll until you tap.
Roll until you tap.
Those are fun.
You know, right.
15 minutes. You're
15 minutes.
War with somebody.
there's nothing that compares to that. And the best shape that I've ever been in has been when I'm able to train jiu-jitsu 5 days a week, go to yoga 4 days a week.
I don't see how you do all that shit, man. I do jiu-jitsu 3-4 times a week, and I'm like, all right, fuck this. I'm staying home tonight and I'm eating a hamburger. I can't. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I can't train right now with the rib, but
how's that doing?
I feel it's getting better, man. I mean, I can do squats, I can do deadlifts, I can throw around kettlebells. I was able to do a little bit of core yesterday.
That's good.
Some sit-ups and stuff. Which
be careful with it.
Yeah. I'm doing it slow, you know. And I'm able to run. Like I'm running like 3 miles, every other day. So I mean, I'm able to.
So you're doing all kinds of
I'm
shit,
able to do something.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing yoga. I'm not doing jiu-jitsu. And those, I mean, my loves go jiu-jitsu, yoga.
Yeah.
And then everything else. I mean, like if I had to shut it down and I could only do one thing, obviously it'd be jiu-jitsu. But I feel like yoga, for me, going into like my 60s and 70s, I want to still be able to do yoga.
I've thought about that as well. Yeah, like later on in life, the flexibility and all that. But I look at jiu-jitsu kind of like forced yoga. Like I'm more flexible now than I've ever been in my entire life. I mean, sometimes I'll do things when on the mat, like somebody's trying to scoop a knee from deep half or something, and I'll stick my leg way out, or just whatever. And I'll like, man, how did I? 5 years ago, whatever, I would have never been able to have gotten in this position, never. And I'll just do it like it's nothing, because it's just people passing your guard, forcing you down, and they're reaching for your legs, so you just get better at getting it away, and you figure out your hip angles and all that. And man, I see patterns, physical patterns in everything now, like getting in and out of my car. You know what I mean? I have way more hip mobility, and I use my knees to block the door and put my foot on the brake a certain way. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's just like seeing somebody put their arm on the mat. Grab it, get a Kimura grip. You know what I mean? Start ratcheting it away. I just see these physical patterns when I'm just through my daily life.
What's great about the relationship between yoga and jiu-jitsu is that there's a lot of translational movements.
I bet there would be. Yeah.
When you're in yoga, there's some poses that you get into in yoga where like you said, like it's like jiu-jitsu is involuntary yoga.
Your neon belly is a yoga pose. You don't do it like a normal neon belly. You don't have the knee with the leg out. You're like turned all the way perpendicular, and you have your, you're doing it literally, and you're not making eye contact. You're looking up at the ceiling. Anyway, it's a yoga pose, man. The way you have your leg. Anyway, and you can't get you off. Like, it's like you have it down, man. Like, God. And see, being on the bottom of Justin, you fucked up. When you get neon belly, it's like, I fucked up. Son of a bitch.
Well, you know what? Karma's a bitch. I got a broke rib, so
yeah. You had me on neon belly not long ago. I think I told you this, but I was telling somebody, it may have been a podcast me and Ben that did that I don't think I ever did anything with, but you were holding me down neon belly, and I was thinking, I have been here so much with this that I have got to figure out, because your neon belly is better than most people. Most other people get me on neon belly, and I can push their knee with my elbow in tight enough that I'm not threatened. But with yours, I gotta really push some. I'm open up that little scoop. If you want to scoop my arm or something, and then I can't even get you then sometimes. Just the way that you do it. So I was there for a while. I don't remember when maybe the last time we rolled. It's been a little while. And I started thinking, I was pushed and tried to see how you would move, and I started thinking, I have got to figure out how to get Phillip off of me when he's doing this. And so I was trying to get you off, but definitely you were holding me down. I was trying to figure out, okay, how is the most efficient way? And I waited too. I didn't move fast enough. I was kind of turning or something, and your knee slipped off of the rib, and it made like a pop noise. And I thought, and then I literally scooped your leg, and just like. This is not what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do like bear strength. I just scooped you and kind of like just threw you off of me. And I was like, fuck, for like about a minute. I was like, damn, did he just break my rib?
Oh,
and
no,
it didn't.
dude.
It just slipped. So I got maybe a little internal bruising on my rib or something.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Nah,
man.
hey, dude, that's jiu-jitsu, man.
No,
I love that shit.
I hate that.
Nah, I love it. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah,
it's no big deal.
Neon belly is never. I'm never actually trying to finish anybody unless you're a brand new white belt.
Yeah, you just want to.
I just say,
this
hey,
is jiu-jitsu.
This is possible. Like, this is a move. Welcome to jiu-jitsu, and this sucks really bad. And if you're gonna stick around, you're gonna
do this to you.
You're gonna get this. You're gonna get this.
This is gonna happen.
Yeah,
so.
and then after you get used to this, after a couple times when we roll, then I'm gonna use it to transition to other stuff like I do with everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a tool in your tool bag.
Yeah,
and that's speaking of tool bag and jiu-jitsu. You've ever heard the term EDC, everyday carry? We may have talked about this.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I view jiu-jitsu. If you're going to carry a gun or a knife or a flashlight or whatever,
right?
You should kind of be familiar with how to pull your knife out, where your flashlight is, practice drawing your gun here. It's just, it's your responsibility these are dangerous things. You should know how to use them, only use them when you absolutely need to, all that stuff. But jiu-jitsu is something I carry it with me all the time. It can't be taken away. Every day I have it with me. I have it on me, good or bad. I use this analogy all the time. Somebody could hit me with a brick and there's no amount of jiu-jitsu that or whatever change that, but I have it with me all the time,
And I would never use jiu-jitsu like in the street, quote unquote, unless there was absolutely no alternative to the situation. Like if I can walk away from something, be like, look, dude, you're the tougher guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to fight you. Unless they're directly threatening like my health in a way that like I know that they're about to attack me.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to attack my children.
Yeah.
Or my my fiance. If any of those things happen,
yeah, then you just have no choice.
It's going to happen.
You have no choice.
But other than that, there's never a time when I'm like, let me pull out this jiu-jitsu on somebody.
It doesn't make you a badass.
No.
There's somebody out there that has never even stepped into a gym that could wipe the floor with me.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm definitely more physically confident. This is what we were talking about earlier. Just be better than yourself. If myself from 5 years ago walked into jiu-jitsu, or even at the point of my life when I was physically the most in shape, walked into jiu-jitsu and rolled with me now, my 39-year-old body, I'd wipe the floor with myself. Under those controlled circumstances,
Right.
I would just stomp. I'd tap myself with cardio. I'd Kimura me. I'd choke me. I'd armbar me. I'd sweep me. You know what I mean? So I know that I don't know what you're capable of. Well, I do you, but the stranger. I don't know what this stranger's capable of, but I know what I can do.
Right.
And hopefully I can't do it better than you if you're gonna, if you grab me.
Yeah.
It's just, we'll see what happens, I guess.
So look, I don't want to change the subject.
Sure, we can, man.
But,
sure, go ahead.
But I am interested in your further elaborations on AI, because I know that you've been writing down things and trying to develop your ideas on it.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Well, we covered it a little bit. I was mostly just that idea when people started talking about downloading your consciousness into a computer program or a machine and living forever. I started thinking, that sounds like hell to me.
What about the extraction of DNA to replicate your genetics?
You mean digitally, like digital genetics?
Digital genetics, even the physical replication of clones. I mean, and you're talking about infinite possibilities and realities in that aspect as well, just on a different plane, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, what just occurred to me when you said that, I started thinking in my interpretation where you can download your consciousness, or my thoughts where you can download your consciousness, you don't have a body. But what is a body? It's, it's at some point, like even nerves and all that are just like electrical impulses.
They are.
So could you build an entire body? If you could replicate everything that is me, everything that is Barrett, if you could replicate it and put it into a computer program, would I feel? I mean, nerve endings and all that stuff without the body. Could you still feel? What in the world would that experience be? Is it something we'd even want to do? I started thinking a lot about neural links as well, like interfacing with AI interfacing with you, like a neural link internet where I could just walk and be like, boop, Phillip just got on. Oh, hey, what's up, dude? We could just talk to each other. I'm getting a call from Phillip and see it inside of your mind's eye or inside of your eyeball.
Or how about just transposing, your point of view from where you are physically looking out to where I am.
Like you could see what I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and that's coming.
Yeah, and I think so too.
That's coming.
That we're already got VR. Have you ever done VR? Like any of the new VR stuff?
Yeah, I have.
My son has a Vive or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's it's relatively rudimentary, even though it's way sophisticated than what we was 10 years ago, whatever. But you can see where it's going. I mean, it's in your face.
It's pretty, not pretty. It's very immersive.
Yeah, it's very, very immersive. Even it is very, we got to strap this thing on your head and all that. Once they figure out how to just project that inside your brain, you can go anywhere,
Right. Or augmented reality.
Augmented reality, yeah, where you you have some chip inside your head that you can,
or projected 3D holograms, that are right before you, and at some point, like when they're going to be able to actually project something that's going to be matter in itself.
Yeah,
like you have this object here, and it's not just a digital hologram. It's actually a projected object made of mass, and the same things that this object is made of.
Would they do that?
But the thing is I mean, once we're able to develop AI, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but Kurzweil talks about the singularity, the point at which
I asked Ben. Yeah, I asked Ben what we talked about singularity, and I asked him what his, because there's a lot of different interpretations of the singularity. I'm curious, what does he say, or what do you think?
Well, okay, so technological innovation is on an upswing that is exponential. If you're looking at a graph, okay, and you're looking at the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
It's just like this flat line, and then you get to the 1700s when they start the Industrial Revolution, and ever since then we've kind of been on the slope. But I think that once you get to where we're at right now, like we're on this upswing, where the rise of the slope is exponential, and where it would take 100 years of innovation to get you a certain product to a certain point in time of technological advancement. Now it just takes a year.
Yeah.
And then that compounds exponentially to where what just took a year takes 6 weeks. And then what used to take 6 weeks now just takes, 2 days.
Right.
And then it gets to the point where the growth and expansion of innovation and advancement of technology it's growing at such a rapid rate that the AI itself, it's compounding way beyond what we could possibly do as human beings, and solving problems way beyond our capacity. And so there's going to become a point in time where we're going to be forced to merge with machines. And that's going to be the singularity, where this AI technology and human beings have to merge, or not have to merge, but in order for human beings to stay relevant, we have to become integrated into the AI, not AI integrated into us.
Yeah, we have to integrate with them,
and it's all going to be contingent upon whether AI wants that, or allows that.
And what you just said, that was another thing that I kind of was batting around in my head. If there's AI that takes on a sinister viewpoint, even if it doesn't even understand what evil is, it just is making calculations to exterminate humans or make us sterile or whatever because we're the problem. Is it possible that there was another form of AI that goes the other way, that says, no,
benevolent?
These are our beautiful creators, and we should serve them. And are they going to war? Is this good and evil?
Is it the eternal dichotomy of the universe?
It's yin and yang, eternal dichotomy of the universe.
Yeah.
And is it just going to carry on? And then is there going to be an AI war? Is there going to be AI apocalypse? Within itself. Kind of, my brain just was going all over the place.
But will we even really be around for that?
I don't know, because at this exponential rate that you're talking about, let's say 50 years from now, which we may not be around. You could live to 80-ish, 90, push 90. It's just, and then also AI has the potential to calculate. A minute for us is thousands of years or whatever, calculation anyway. If our brains operate at 200 megahertz or something, but theoretically, AI could operate 1 billion times faster, and then also pool its resources among other computers or programs and use Wi-Fi or the internet or some connectability that we don't even understand to process information.
Yeah,
billion to the billionth time faster.
Yeah.
So it could, they could be having fucking AI wars right now, and we don't even know. I mean, because there's no vessel yet for the AI other than just maybe turning off some power grids or I mean, my phone's being fucked up. There's no Terminator yet, like marching down the street. Not yet.
Yeah.
But if it figures how to do that, I don't know. Then what the fuck, man?
Like you develop this very complex simulation, let's say, and you develop it here on Earth, but it's it exists in just as many terabytes as it would take to compose the entire universe, and then you construct this civilization on the other side of the universe, and you create it in a way that it is exponentially improving upon itself. And now it's developed a method to transverse the universe to Earth, and it's on the way right now as we speak.
So you're hang on, I got to unpack this a little bit. In other words, shit's fucked up.
Right?
It's gonna be the craziest thing you could possibly imagine could be happening right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's I don't know. It just has consumed me, at least for a few days.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I was writing about it, thinking about it, watching videos about it, and I just realized that whatever it does, it's coming.
And
something's coming,
and we're truly at the mercy of it.
In the long run, it almost feels that way, unless we just what is that? Like that line in the Matrix where we don't know who struck first, but we know it was us that blackened the sun because they were getting the machines were using solar power to basically function. And so we were just like, we got to stop this shit. And we figured out a way to like cloud the earth over so that AI would die off. We still didn't, obviously manage to do it, but we just some extreme measure that just every electronic piece of equipment on the earth has to be destroyed, and no more Wi-Fi, no nothing. We're going back to the Stone Age. It's just some crazy like that.
I think that that even in that scenario,
we'd have to do it now.
The demon would still manifest.
You think so? At some point,
in some form or fashion. Yeah.
Well, what else? I said that, and that was intriguing to me. Just that it's manifesting itself. And that was another question I asked when I was doing this. If artificial intelligence eventually starts to think on its own and truly become autonomous, is it artificial anymore? If it's doing it on its own, I mean, at what point is it artificial anymore?
Is it just intelligence?
Yeah, is it just intelligence? And that's a weird concept. Intelligence by itself.
Right.
What is that?
Right. Is it almost an insult to call it artificial at some point?
Yeah, if it's 1,000 times smarter than you and it's in its infancy, is it? But I don't know. That's a weird question,
Yeah.
And then it's not it's not artificial wisdom, because how do you get wisdom? You have to go through experiences and life, or at least our viewpoint of wisdom. Life, love, loss. Just experience on the earth. Getting a job, going to school.
But if an algorithm composes all of the different variables that has led humanity to the point at which it is now, then is it the same?
Can it ever know all variables? I mean, man, that's.
I mean, if
that's predictive. I mean, you would. Somebody said that about particle physics. If you knew, I don't remember who. If you knew every particle, if you knew the physics and the motion of every particle on Earth, you could basically know the future. So I guess maybe that's kind of what they would almost do in a way.
Right.
But, yeah. What were you asking though?
So have you ever? And this might be some old stuff that but I remember. I was going down some rabbit holes, and I just remembered what I wanted to ask you.
What's that?
We were eating lunch one day.
Me and you?
You, me, and Casey.
Okay.
And we started getting on the subject of Alex Jones.
Yeah, okay.
So I found it very, very interesting that all three of us had our own takes on Alex Jones. I know that at one point in time,
I've had lots of different takes over the years of Alex Jones. My opinion has shifted.
My opinion has shifted dramatically, but I think the thing that drew me in, and I think a lot of people, were drawn in from this particular story that he did, was on Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, well, that was like his big breakthrough,
and I think it was probably like. This was probably like 2009 or 2010.
Yeah.
When I first came across his videos on Bohemian Grove, and it had never
probably about the time I did as well.
It had never occurred to me that there was this elite section of society that was congregating and practicing very old Sumerian type rituals where they were, worshiping Moloch, the
owl god,
and sacrificing children to it. And not to say that that particular video they were sacrificing a child, but he did he did imply
effigy of a child.
It was an effigy of a child, and that it could possibly have been a child. I mean, who knows?
Do you think that those types of people, because I think that there are lots of that stuff going on in different sects of society, different tribal kind of thinking and all that. But
sure.
Do you think that those people really believe that they're affecting anything with those rituals, like spiritually, or is it radiating out to the cosmos? Or do you think that it's just kind of like a bonding technique? Hey, we're all rich, we're all powerful, we're all connected. Let's get here and do some weird shit together.
I think at the highest levels, they feel like they are affecting.
Like, they're really changing, shaping, and maybe they are. Fuck, I don't know.
And I think they truly are. I think that there's something to that.
Yeah.
It's definitely taboo subject matter, and if you try to talk to this with people that you meet on an everyday basis, they're not really willing to engage in this type of
I don't
mental exercise.
Understand how people can't understand conspiracy, at least on some level. I mean, me and you could turn the mics and the camera off and conspire to, I don't know, throw a birthday party for somebody or whatever. Just something that's a conspiracy.
I think that the media has done a very good job in implanting the idea in people's heads that anything that is a quote unquote conspiracy theory is something laughable and something for tinfoil hat wearing people who are quacks.
And that's basically the gate. What Alex Jones was to me. He I don't know. Everybody likes to say, Alex Jones is fucking nuts. But every once in a while, he says some shit like, or 80% of what he says. He's a quack, but 80% of what he says.
He's ahead of the curve.
Yeah. And he's the one that really showed me kind of what you just said. There's a veil. There's layers to the veil. There's gatekeepers to the veil. There's, who are they?
Right.
What are they doing? Why are they doing it? What is the agenda? Question things. Don't just turn your electronic box on and think, oh, this is the truth. And you know what really woke me up? It actually wasn't Alex Jones. I found Alex Jones through Waco. Do you remember Waco?
I do remember Waco.
Okay, I remember Waco. I was like 15, and I can remember what was going on the TV screen. When all that stuff was going down. And then later in life, for whatever reason, I actually had just opened my shop, so I had a computer there. I got the internet. I was like, I was by myself a lot around 2009, 2010, and I started Googling stuff and 9/11 shit and all that was kind of slowly kind of going down those rabbit holes. And I saw this documentary on Waco, Texas, and it was all this footage that I'd never seen before. It was all this footage from inside the compound. It was David Koresh talking, which I was like, David, they have videotape of David Koresh talking to the hostage negotiators? What? They didn't show that shit on MSNBC when I was 15 years old.
Right. And
just his point of view and like, y'all came here with 50 men and guns. I go to Walmart 5 times a week. I jog 6 miles a day. You didn't have to come here and shoot at me. And what have I done? What am I doing? And he was like, none of y'all can even tell me what I've done wrong. And he's a child molester and all this stuff. And well, maybe that happened, maybe it didn't, but and then there was footage from like FLIR footage, which is some kind of FLIR is an acronym for something. It's, it's like the black and white footage. You can see like temperature grades from black and white, grayscale temperature grades that the Congress said didn't exist or something like that. And they weren't shooting at them, but then you could see from the FLIR footage from the planes flying that they were shooting at them. And it just made me, and then there was congressional testimony. And one of the things that really stuck out was this particular guy who had made it out alive was talking, I think, to Chuck Schumer of all people. And Chuck Schumer was kind of getting the third degree about these other people that were on this 7 or 8 other adults that made it out. And, they were bad people and all this. And he said, excuse me, sir, I don't know if you know this, and maybe many people here don't, but every person that you're talking right now went to trial, and they were all found innocent by a jury of their peers. So I would just like that for the record, that you're bad-mouthing these people that have gone through the judicial process and found to be innocent of the crimes that you're accusing them of. after the fact, after they've already gone through all this.
Yeah.
They've lost family members, they've lost children. Some of them are horribly disfigured for life from fire and gunfire, and they went through trials, and and all of them were found innocent. And I started thinking, who are these fucking people? So I started reading about that. They never talked about any of that. So it just showed me, long story, I know I'm rambling, but long story, that was the first thing when I saw that there's, okay, what they told us on the TV, when I remember being 15 years old, eating, dinner at night on the TV tray with my parents, watching, man, this crazy Waco shit. From what really happened, 20 years later, I was like, wow, I don't remember that,
Right. Yeah. Another thing too for me, which was probably even before Bohemian Grove, now that I think about it, one of the first things that I saw that really made me question the narratives that were told on a daily basis was Loose Change.
I saw Loose Change too.
Yeah, that was probably in 2006 or 2007 when I saw that. And I thought to myself,
oh, geez.
No worries. No worries.
Forgot to freaking mute.
No worries. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Talk on
no, but anyway, Loose Change was just such a, it was so mind blowing to think that, all of these things that I thought were, the true narrative. And it's so funny. Up, and we're back. I actually thought, I bought the
just muting it, by the way, man.
No, it's all good. Okay. I actually bought the 9/11. What was that? It was like the congressional report.
Oh yeah, the book you're talking about.
Yeah,
what was that called? Just the 9/11 Commission report. or something like that. Yeah, the commission. Yeah.
I actually bought that book, and I kind of read a little bit into it, and I kind of read it, and like okay, well I read like probably 100 pages into it. I'm like, well, I'm satisfied with what I'm reading.
600 pages long. You're like, okay, this is good.
I'll fucking put it up. But to think that these guys came to this country, a lot of them didn't belong in this country, and they were allowed to take flight classes.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird,
it's just
weird
shit. The fact that on the exact same day that they were flying planes into the building, we were simulating an exercise of something that was the exact same scenario, basically.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, they couldn't get the jets engaged with those planes in a timely manner because they were already off on this other campaign in this simulated event that they were practicing for.
Right. And I've heard people defend that with, I don't know if I buy it, with they're always doing something like that. But then my counter to that was, well, if they're always doing something like that, how can they respond? Like you said, they were doing something else because there was this drill.
There was a drill.
So if they're always drilling and they're always, how can if something happens?
But another thing too is that this is a repetitive occurrence. Like this is something.
Yeah, it's repeating. Theme repeats.
The theme repeats where we have this tragic event, but we were at the same time drilling some simulated event,
nearly the same thing.
That was nearly the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
And it just I'm sorry, but it begs the question, how? How? Is it because we're receiving reports or intelligence that's leading us to believe that this may happen, and we just so coincidentally we're engaging in a practice of this event, and then the event happens, and it's like, oh well, we were in the middle of a simulation.
Reality is a strange mistress. That's the
sure
problem, man.
Is, man.
Because you're asking questions, and I just literally have no idea.
And I don't either.
It's almost kind of like, have you ever had the thought that you're the only thing that exists? Have you ever had that thought? Like reality is just a projection of you. Like you're not really sitting here right now. I'm creating my own reality.
I've had that thought, but then when I think that, then I think to myself like, well, then everyone else doesn't matter. Like everyone else is just a projection of my own imagination or consciousness.
Right.
I've had that thought before.
And that's what I was going to say. It's like that. These questions that you're asking. It's almost like it's so strange. These coincidences that happen over and over again. that it's so crazy. It almost seems like it's being made up as it goes along in a way. Does that make sense? So it's like, what is reality? Is this collective consciousness of all of us? Is it a projection? Is it, it's just so, it's like nothing surprises us anymore. Now that we can all communicate with phones and computers, we can all share information at the speed of light across the world. There's so much information out there that it seems like reality is writing itself in a way. Does that kind of make sense? There's so you can punch holes in anything, you know,
right?
If you really look.
Well, I mean, now there's a story to support every point of view possible
right
out there.
The full spectrum.
So if you're looking to justify, your particular opinion on something, you can get on the internet and type it into Google,
chamber,
and here we are. I proved myself,
right?
And you can go about your day thinking that you're right.
That you're right, yeah.
And
I don't know what to believe about a lot of that stuff, but I just official narratives and stuff. I've almost never believed that stuff. I'm very very leery of official narratives.
Me too. Anything that's stated on the mainstream media, like anything that you see like on NBC or ABC or Fox News, like I look at that with a sideways look. I don't know about that.
It's like there's a lot of truth and the believability on all those shows, but then there's all those channels and stuff, but then there's always something. It's always like, is there an agenda? Are they using all that stuff as bait, but there's a hook underneath the veil? Excuse me. They're like a typical conservative could watch Fox News and believe everything that they say, but then there's a little agenda just kind of hidden in there that they squeeze in once in a while.
And there's data points everywhere where you have this phenomena occurring. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was reading a meme about Trump's address to the nation recently this week, where he said, we will be able to pay for the wall in itself by keeping illegal drugs out of the United States by constructing the wall. Now, I don't like that. Okay, that's being disingenuous to the American people. Let's be honest here. The drugs that come into the United States have historically been brought in by agencies that work for the United States.
Sure.
And this is not like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, what? How many times do we have to get Freedom of Information Acts or see soldiers guarding poppy fields?
Right.
I mean, come on.
This is not, this is not conspiracy theory. Like, this is reality. And even if you're, using, let's say that idea that cartels are bringing drugs into the United States, which they are, we're running guns to allow these cartels to feud in war and gain power in certain provinces outside of the United States to gain geographical dominance so that they can control certain areas to bring the drugs in.
Sure.
And if there's gonna be a wall, I get it. Like, I think that's not a bad idea, but you have to understand that drugs are going to be coming over the wall, under the wall, and through the wall.
Well, you can't, especially if it's a fence. You can't,
Right.
You can't lie about the reason. If you think a wall is good or a wall is bad, let's be honest. Let's be honest about it. If you think it's good, why do you think it's good?
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't either. I don't think it is. And they work. Me and Ben actually talked about this. Walls work.
Walls work
for a lot of things, especially people. We can catapult drugs over the thing or whatever, or there's a gate somewhere in the wall that some guy CIA
or there's some crooked border agent that's gonna happen, or immigration officer that's gonna allow the trafficking of it through. It's gonna happen.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, where's like the high concentration of illegal narcotics? A lot of times it's in prison. Have you ever talked to a prison guard and he's like, dude, there's drugs all over these things. I mean, how they get in? Well, they get in from prison guards. I mean, that's how they get in, or family members, they sneak them in. I mean, you can't stop that type of thing. But
we build prisons to house people who commit crimes that violate our drug laws, yet at the same time we can't keep drugs out of the same prisons that these people are being housed in.
I mean, people find a way.
It's so ridiculous.
People find a way, and at every level of society, if you're on the very bottom or if you're on the very top, there's we find ways to do what we want to do, and we'll find people to conspire with. But if we're going to have a wall, let's be honest about the reasons we're going to have a wall, and let's not virtue signal, and let's not fight about fucking Republicans and Democrats, and you want cheap labor, and you want unlimited voter base of brown people because that's who votes for you. You know what I mean? Let's just. And maybe those are honest, but it's not the price. We send millions and billions and billions of dollars to every other country on earth. We waste money. I mean, what has the United States government wasted money on? I mean, do we really want to add that up? Let's be honest about why you don't want why you do want one, and let's throw away all this other. It's too expensive, or it's fucking nuts. Even if it costs $100 billion. I mean, we sent $40 billion to Israel. We send billions of dollars to almost every country in Africa. We send billions of dollars to Asian countries I mean, come on. That's not the money, And that's money's printed out of thin air anyway. So fuck you,
And I'm not even necessarily like against giving foreign aid to countries.
I'm not either, but I mean, let's be but it's not the cost. It's not that it costs $5 billion.
But I really don't think that we need to be sending $40 billion to a first world nation that's totally capable of operating on its own standalone. I think that at some point in time, like if you're going to do nation building, that's a great foreign policy. I think it worked after World War II. We nation build in Germany and Japan, and look, those are two superpowers.
Yeah, they're superpowers. Now, yeah.
And I think that ideal in that particular scenario, it worked out great, but in these other instances where we've gone into countries and we've overthrown their government, and then we've done this kind of half-ass implementation of some form of democratic institution, and then we abandon the country, and then we leave those people to fend for themselves, and then there's an uprising and a power vacuum, and then you have the most extreme arm of some type of militia within the country, come in and take the country back over. It's way worse than it was before we went in there, and a lot of very very moral, very honorable men have died so that we can be free today to sit here and have this conversation. You think about the millions of Americans that have died in World War I, World War II, not just Americans, just people.
People.
People. I mean, you're talking about so many people, and that's not even including the people who died in concentration camps with Maoist China and the gulags and in Russia.
Well, yeah, that's another thing that Alex Jones that turned me on is you want to know. He's always say, you want to talk about who's killed the most people? Government.
Democide.
Government has killed the most people.
Right.
By far. Not even close. It's not even close.
Right.
I mean, there's no competition. We're talking millions upon millions upon millions and millions of
We're
people.
very prolific at finding ways to exterminate ourselves.
Look at you ever heard of the Holodomor? Everybody's heard of the Holocaust. You ever heard of Holodomor?
I don't think so.
And most people have it. It's I don't want to butcher it too much, but it was the systematic starvation, basically, of the people of Ukraine.
Oh yes, I have heard about this.
Cutting off. They basically starved them to death, just through various economic policies and borders and fences and just So I mean, democide by far has killed just untold amount of people.
And when it comes to torturing and prolonging the misery of a certain section of society's existence, we are very prolific at that. We are
we kill each other.
Very innovative. I mean, I've been reading the abridged version of the Gulag Archipelago, and I came to start reading that.
What is that a story about?
It's a story about communist Russia.
Okay,
and basically from like 1910 to 1950, Alexander Solzhenitsyn was imprisoned in the gulags, and he detailed. I mean,
who is he imprisoned by?
Well, he was actually a soldier for Russia, and I mean, this gets really, really complicated, but the overarching theme that he tries to convey is that when society no longer accepts the tenets of reality and they truly start to live a lie, that's when the dissolution of society occurs. And before you know it, everyone is being sent to the gulags. And that's what happened in Russia, is that people would start informing on each other.
Yeah.
And they had these laws that were in place where, like, if you were a farmer, you would have to send all of your grain to the city.
And this is this Bolshevism and
the Bolsheviks?
The Bolsheviks, which basically just means Jewish, right? Isn't it? There were kind of like a lot of I always kind of associate it with. I don't know. I've heard it means the same. It's basically Bolshevism is basically like a Jewish, like almost like a Jewish revolution, where there are a lot of people on the tops of heads of the government in Russia during that time period you mentioned.
Well, in Russia, it was called the NKVD. I don't know what that NKDV.
Okay, I don't know.
Or NKVD. Yeah, NKVD. And I don't know what the acronym stands for off the top of my head.
I'm curious. Yeah,
but it's
see, and this is history that's
not told.
It's not told.
Like you have to actually go out. Like I came to reading this book because Jordan Peterson talks pretty extensively about it in his lectures on YouTube. Like if you go to YouTube, you can
like what would happen if you start trusting government too much.
He talks a lot about archetypes, and he has lectures from his academic classes at the University of Toronto, and he has years and years of his lectures posted on YouTube, and you can just go to YouTube and just pull them up, and they're like an hour and a half each, and like it's like an entire semester, so you can basically sit down and take his whole class just by watching YouTube. And one of his classes for Maps of Meaning, which was his first book that he wrote, it illustrates and goes over a lot of the themes from the Gulag Archipelago, and it really talks about the depths in which human beings can go, and the torture, unimaginable torture that has occurred. And so
think about the just policies of when you're putting policies in place that are going to cause people to starve to death. You know what I mean? During this time period, there's a lot of that stuff going on in that area of the world. We're going to systematically and legislate the starvation of millions of people. I mean, how can you do that? I don't think it ever starts out that way. Maybe not. Yeah. How does it snowball into that? I mean,
I think it goes from this sense of benevolence to making everything equal, and having everybody wants equal opportunity, right?
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between having an equal opportunity for like we have here in America, where you can go get an education and you get a job, and then you have the outcome being equal. Then that's the difference between communist and capitalist society, is that in capitalist society you can go out and you can you have the freedom to pursue your
to fail
or to succeed.
And
it unfortunately creates hierarchies. And those hierarchies exist because there are going to be people who are going to exceed, and there are going to be people who are going to not succeed. They're going to fail. And that's the nature of it. So it's reality. And hierarchies have existed on Earth like since organisms have existed.
Right.
I mean, this is something that's embedded in the
there's a
construct of reality.
Yeah, right. There's a commercial I've seen on TV every now and then. It's for like some kind of college or something. It's like college for adults or whatever. And it bothers the speech. It's like a guy giving a speech at graduation, and he's like, if you're active military, stand up. If you're a single parent, stand up, or whatever. And all these people are standing up, and that's very inspiring. But he says something like, the world distributes talent equally, but it doesn't distribute opportunity equally. And I'm like, that's the fucking opposite of the world, dude. Opportunity, at least in particular countries, you could argue America is maybe going away from that. I don't know, but let's just say that the idealism of America is everybody has the same opportunity, but not everybody has the same talent. That's the lie. You're lying. You're fucking lying.
Right.
I'm never going to be able to play basketball as good as somebody. I'm not as smart as maybe you. I can't. I mean,
have you heard of the Pareto distribution?
Is that like maybe I have.
It's something that the Jordan Peterson talks about a lot. It's basically if you look like statistically at the productivity of a certain sample or population, there's going to be like, I don't know the exact numbers. It's like, a very small few people are going to have the majority of the production because they're just highly driven, highly successful.
Their IQ,
their IQ, their work ethic, 20% of the people are going to put out 80% of the productivity in a company. It's a very natural thing that occurs.
It's just the way it happens,
and it happens like across the board.
Yeah.
Like when you look at this, empirically, and so I mean that it's very much it's very much not a part of reality that you're going to have equal outcomes for everybody.
No, it's just impossible.
It's impossible.
It's a lie. And every time I hear that commercial, I can hear the music start and stuff. I'm like, oh, this fucking, it makes me so aggravated because it's like, you can't, maybe I view the world totally different. And I know there's just as many people as there are on the earth. That's how many viewpoints of the world there is. But when you say that the world distributes, talent equally, you are fucking lying. That is just so ingenuous. Come on, dude. No, it doesn't.
And when you start like pushing forward the idea of equality of outcome, that's when you start having people sent to the gulags.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes from. You have the farmer who has to send all of their grain to the city to fund the government,
right?
It's
like Hunger Games type shit.
Like Hunger
really.
Games type shit.
Shit. Yeah.
And if that farmer goes out and picks up some grains that were left behind the harvest, and they're just laying on the ground, and then someone informs on that farmer that he picked up those grains, then the NKVD comes in, picks them up, interrogates them, sends them to the gulag, and then makes them confess to the crime, even if they don't necessarily. If they don't confess right away, they will implore these very sophisticated and just horrific means of torture.
Yeah, just pulling it out of you. Yeah, just forcing you.
Put you in a box for 5 days where you can't move at all, and they dump a bunch of bed bugs in there. And you just, you
like a good time.
And you cannot even they don't give you water, they don't give you food, and then they pull you out of there, and then they tell you confess.
Yeah, confess, or we're going to come up with some other crazy shit.
Some other crazy shit,
and that's almost even scarier. Being in the box with the bed bugs, thinking, what are they going to do to me next?
Right.
How long am I going to be here? The unknown. You are totally at the mercy of somebody else.
And how many millions of people died at the hands of something so sinister? And here we are today able to sit here and talk about it. But the reason why we're able to sit here and talk about it is not because of equality of outcome. It's because of the Pareto distribution, and that America has been able to be that 20%.
The 20%.
And unfortunately, there are areas of the world that suffer because of our exceptionalism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that allows the free flow of ideas in situations like this where we can discuss that. And as we've talked about earlier, reflecting in our own respects, I think that brings about benevolence and being humble,
Yes, I think we could all use a little humility.
Yeah.
I think that's good for you. There's so many people out there that it's infected our society that just think that they're owed something, or that they should just get they're just good at something because they say they're good at it, you know.
Or they're better than, you know, you, or they're better than everyone else, and that's, you know, that's not the case. I mean, you know, we're all I mean, I don't want to get all, you know, religious here or anything, because,
go ahead, man.
but I mean we're in the eyes of God, I mean, we're all the same. You know, we're all human beings. We're all, you know, we're all children of God, you know. And, you know, at the end of the day, none of us are owed anything more than the other, but we do have different opportunities, you know. And that's not a knock against me. That's not a knock against you. That's not a knock against the kid that has to drink water out of a muddy puddle, you know, in sub-Saharan Africa. You know, it's not his fault he was born there, you know, and it's not our fault either.
It's not our, yes. I was literally going to say, it's not our fault either. It's just, hey, I didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, hey, so I wish you didn't have to do that.
Right.
I wish everybody, you know, just,
but I think it's
happy and healthy.
I think that it's being able to talk about it and spread the ideas, and to you know, actually have the mental exercises of exploring these ideas and sharing these feelings and concepts with each other, that's going to eventually reach that kid that's drinking out of that dirty puddle, and bring him up and rise him up out of that, you know, as we are able to rise ourselves up. You know, it's like, you know.
Well, I mean, I the kid drinking out of the puddle in another country, what I try, those types of things cross my mind, but I also think, okay, like we were talking about earlier, if I'm a better person, if I just try to be a better person, it'll affect your life, it'll affect this person's life, and I'm hoping that it will radiate out.
Absolutely.
And part of being a better person, in my opinion, is honesty. And I struggle with this because there are things that I can't, it's hard to say to certain people in your life. There's things you don't want to even admit to yourself. Like, you'll only just kind of think about them when you're, you know, alone in the dark. You can't, I mean, I don't know if I could ever say that out loud or whatever. Even if it's nothing crazy, it's just, you know, it's an insecurity you have or whatever. And sometimes the truth, not everybody wants to hear what the truth is, you know, and we just having a conversation, our version of the truth can come out in some form, and hopefully it'll spread, just like trying to be a better person will spread. We can throw, like I was talking about the wall earlier, let's just be honest about the reasons. Why? Do you want one? Yes. Do you not want one? No. Okay, don't tell me it costs too much. Just throw away that shit.
Right. Let's
talk about the real reason you want one. What will it accomplish? The real reason you don't, what will happen if we don't build one?
Yeah. I just, you know, and not to keep, you know, jumping on this guy's, you know,
Jordan Peterson's
coattail, man. This guy has changed. This guy has changed my life and my perception on things so much.
I haven't listened to him much since I was big into him when he was doing the whole fighting the pronoun shit in Canada. But go ahead. I didn't mean it. Yeah. Tell me.
Well, it's just, you know, he said, and I don't know if it was Nietzsche that said this or if it was Solzhenitsyn, but or it might have not been either one of those guys. But you know, he says that the line between good and evil runs through the heart of every man.
Yeah.
And so that goes to what you were just saying, that it starts with you. Like, it starts with your ability to become a better person than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
To objectively look at your faults and where you can become a better person for your children, a better person for yourself, you know, improving upon yourself, you know, helping that person, you know, that's next to you, in a moment when you don't, when nobody's looking, you know, when there's not any kind of,
get any reward,
there's not going to be any reward for it. There's not going to be a you know, an article written about how, you know, how awesome you are because you helped some old lady across the street. You just do it because it's the right thing to do, and you do it because it's the honest thing to do. And if each one of us could embrace that philosophy, this world would overnight become a much better place.
Yep, and it could be something super simple. Just, hey man, don't eat that bag of chips.
Just start.
Hey
start,
man,
start
don't
small.
Watch that weird video. That's gonna fuck you up. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just starts.
And I like chips and weird videos, but you know, but just make a good decision. You know what I mean? Like,
but at the same time,
Yeah, man. That's the way I do it. You gotta have. I don't even know where I was gonna go. I better stop myself or I'll go somewhere weird with that. But yeah,
it's like that Seinfeld episode where George like mixes like sex in the sandwich.
Yeah, he's reaching for the sandwich while she's under the covers, and he's like, "This is the best thing ever." Yeah, I remember that one. I do remember that one.
Yeah, you don't want to create those pathways and lock in those neuronal connections.
How long do you think we've been talking?
I don't know, man.
This is always interesting when this part comes up.
Yeah.
Oh, my knee. Ah. Let's look.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to guess?
I'd say an hour and a half.
I think it's been longer than that.
Really?
I'm saying pushing 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying maybe hour and 50 something.
Damn.
Let's see.
I know. I got it.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
God damn.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
What in? I'm not going to say it because I'm trying to become a better person.
Nah, yeah. Man, I think that's. I mean, honestly, I'm almost talked out, dude.
Me too, man. Me too, man.
I'm getting there. This is. I see kind of why we get so addicted to our phones. It's so much easier just to kind of zone into ourselves and text once in a while. And
right.
The world at our fingertips, so to speak. You know, but because it is, man, talking is.
Barrett, thank you for providing me with this experience because this is truly catharsis, and I had to look up the definition of catharsis to make sure I was using it in the right context. And when you look it up, anybody that's listening to this, look up catharsis, and that is the exact feeling that you'll get when you sit down and do something like this.
I'm happy to do it, man. I'm honestly glad that I've actually wanted to do this for a few years.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of friends that would say, yeah, and I'd start putting the microphones up and send them a picture. Hey, man, I got the computer going, I got the mixer going. Come on over. And then they just, I don't know, they wouldn't. I don't know. Just life got in the way. I
think the camera went out.
Oh, shit. Well, we still got audio. That's okay. We'll just, we're about to end it anyway.
Yeah,
but,
man.
They just wouldn't come over and do it. So honestly, I appreciate you spending your time, making the time. I'm glad your girlfriend understands and all that stuff. You can come out here and do it. And,
yeah, man.
And even though they won't see it, I'm going to shake your hand.
Yeah, dude. I love you, brother. I love everybody out there, especially all the guys we roll with.
Fuck yeah.
I love the fuck out
the girls, everybody, man.
Yeah,
we're all just like a family, dude. It's Jiu-Jitsu family.
Yeah. Just, I mean, at the end of the day, just love each other.
Yeah, man.
Just love each other.
Just love each other.
Yeah.
Never has a truer saying been said. Just love each other.
Just love each other.
All right, bro.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to stop it.
All right. Fun stuff.